We need an order of operations for our logical symbols. Now I have a couple notes on this. First, if you read the textbook that goes with the Math and Logic class, this is a different presentation than that. I'm going to present this as an order of operations. For whatever reason, Blitzer presented this as a strength of connectives, which is totally weird because it's not the way we're used to thinking about stuff. So we're going to do an order of operations for logic. One more caveat, this is for specifically thinking mathematically by Blitzer. Other mathematicians, other logicians use different orders of operations. So whenever you're looking at something logical and it's unclear what the order is, you need to figure out what order they're using. So for us, we're going to have parentheses first. Okay, because parentheses and other grouping symbols always say do this first and ignore the order of operations. Second, we'll have our unary operator, which is negation. Third, we're going to do conjunction, which is and also disjunction, which is or. I'm going to have to move my camera so we can see that. All right, great. Now, special note here about the way that this is set up for this book. We're going to say, if we have both of these, the writer must make it clear which is first. Either by using parentheses or if it's a sentence, a comma. If we have something that's an and an or and there's no indication of what's first, we're going to say that that's not well formed. It's a bad sentence because we're treating both of these on the same level, but we're not saying specifically to do them from left to right. Okay, number 4, the conditional, which is our arrow, and these are if-then statements. And last on our order of operations is going to be the biconditional. That is our arrow that points both directions, and this was if and only if. Okay, I want to practice using the order of operations just quickly here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to write the implied parentheses. And so I want to do a quick example from our arithmetic world, because I think it'll make it clear what I'm talking about then. Here I have negative 25 divided by 5 minus 8 times 6. Now in the order of operations for arithmetic, we've got grouping symbols, exponents, and roots, multiplication, division, from left to right. So I would do this before I do the subtraction, so I'm going to put this in parentheses. And similarly, I do this multiplication before the subtraction, so I put this in parentheses. This calculation has the same meaning with or without these parentheses because we would do the division before subtraction and we'd do the multiplication before subtraction. So we're going to do the same thing with logic. Let's say we had not Q and R, if and only if P, only if not Q. Okay, it's a bunch of crazy stuff, but look, here we have a negation. We know we'd do that first. But then we've got a conjunction, a biconditional, and a conditional. So let's look, conjunction, biconditional, conditional. I see the conjunction beats out both of those. So I'm going to put parentheses around not Q and R. Now between the conditional and the biconditional, I see conditional wins out. So down here, I'm going to put the next set of parentheses around if P then not Q. Okay, this statement is the same with or without these parentheses. If you see not Q and R, if and only if P then not Q, you should know I'm going to do that conjunction, then the conditional, then the biconditional. Okay, let's look at just one more. Here I have if Q then P and R, if and only if Q or R. Now here I see a conditional, a conjunction, a biconditional, and a disjunction. Really I need to compare these to what they're by. So let's look at this conjunction and the conditional and biconditional. Well, just like in the last one, we know conjunction beats out both of those. So I'm going to put parentheses around the conjunction. Now I've got a conditional, biconditional, and a disjunction. Again, disjunction beats out conditional and biconditional. So I'm going to put parentheses around Q or R. Finally, I'm left with a conditional and a biconditional. Again, the conditional beats out the biconditional, so I'm going to put parentheses around if Q, then P and R. So there's some examples of using the order of operations to say what to do first.